In 2020, shortly before her high school graduation, an 18-year-old girl suddenly disappeared. Her car was found in a church parking lot with the keys and mobile phone inside, sparking a whirlwind of emotions and a massive search effort. Soon after her disappearance, the FBI, local police, and hundreds of volunteers joined the search. The news quickly attracted national media attention, and the case became widely publicized. When the case was finally solved, it shocked everyone. Madison Bell was born in 2002 and grew up in Greenfield, Ohio, living in a small rural community. Madison was an active teenager, participating in school events and having many friends. She lived with her mother, father, and her boyfriend, Cody Mann. Madison was the captain of her school's cheerleading team, which brought her many friends and admirers. Her leadership and enthusiasm inspired the team to victories and fostered a friendly and supportive atmosphere. Successfully balancing academics and sports, Madison had ambitious goals. After graduation, she dreamed of attending medical school and becoming a doctor. Her passion for medicine began in childhood when she observed doctors work and admired their ability to help people. Madison actively participated in volunteer programs and medical camps to gain experience and prepare for her future profession. Family and friends described Madison as a caring and determined girl, always ready to help. Her support was important to many, and she often found herself the center of attention due to her positive attitude and willingness to support others. On the morning of May 17, 2020, Madison Bell told her mother she was going to the tanning salon, just a few minutes away from their home. She assured her mother she would be back soon, got into her car, and left. Several hours passed, but Madison did not return, causing great concern for her mother, Melissa. Melissa knew that after the tanning salon, Madison sometimes stopped at McDonald's for coffee. Additionally, her daughter always called or texted if she was running late, but this time Madison did not contact her. Melissa decided to call her daughter herself but received no answer. Madison also did not respond to calls and messages from her boyfriend Cody Mann, which intensified the worry. Overcome with concern, Melissa used the Find My iPhone app to locate her daughter's phone. The map showed that the phone was somewhere between the local church and the tanning salon. Melissa and Cody suspected that Madison might have been in an accident or encountered some other misfortune. Without wasting time, they got in the car and went looking for her. Arriving at the building housing the tanning salon, they found no traces of Madison being there. They then drove to the church parking lot and saw her car. They inspected Madison's car, finding her mobile phone and car keys inside. This only added to the mystery, as Madison never left her belongings unattended. Everything seemed very strange and raised many questions. What could have caused a young girl to abandon her car and smartphone in a parking lot, leaving the car doors open? Her mother, Melissa Bell, was at a loss. She hoped that Maddie had just stepped away for a moment, perhaps to address some urgent issue nearby. But when Melissa checked the church and the tanning salon building, Maddie was nowhere to be found. In desperation and unable to find any explanation, Melissa decided not to waste time and called the police. Law enforcement quickly began searching, trying to gather all possible clues and leads. Soon, the first important piece of information emerged. A church employee, near where Maddie's car was found, called the Highland County Sheriff's Office. He reported seeing a white car with California plates in the parking lot that morning. Given that California is more than 3,500 kilometers from Ohio, the driver of this car immediately piqued police interest. After all, he was in the parking lot precisely when Madison disappeared, and there were no other cars there. The church was closed due to COVID-19 restrictions, so the parking lot was usually empty. This circumstance made the appearance of a white car with California plates even more suspicious. Police began investigating this lead. First, they checked all possible surveillance cameras in the area to determine where the car came from and where it was heading. Requests were made to the Department of Motor Vehicles to identify the car's owner. The information that someone might have traveled such a long distance from California to Ohio heightened the concern. After all, it's not every day you see a car with out-of-state plates in a deserted church parking lot in a small town. After some time, the police had another witness. This person, walking near the church that morning, noticed the white car and managed to get a look at the driver. The witness described him as a middle-aged man with light hair, dressed in ordinary casual clothes. The police also interviewed everyone who might have been nearby that morning, including workers and visitors of neighboring buildings and stores. They reviewed footage from surveillance cameras in nearby shops and at intersections, hoping to find traces of the suspicious car's movements. It was important to determine where this car came from and where it might have gone after being in the church parking lot. However, the footage from surveillance cameras was insufficient to identify the man near the car with California plates. Despite all efforts to enhance and enlarge the images, the driver's face remained unclear. In search of new leads, the sheriff's office decided to publish these photos, calling on the public to help identify the person who might have information about Madison Bell's disappearance. Publishing the photos generated a wave of interest and active discussion among local residents and social media users. People reposted, shared the images, and discussed possible theories. The sheriff's office hoped someone would recognize this person and provide crucial information to help advance the investigation. Meanwhile, while the police tried to track down the mysterious man, hundreds of Greenfield residents joined the search for Madison. In the small community, everyone knew each other, and the disappearance of a young girl affected everyone. Friends, neighbors, and just concerned people organized volunteer groups that scoured the surroundings, forests and abandoned buildings, hoping to find any trace of her. Search dogs were deployed, and helicopter support was used to survey hard-to-reach areas. The entire county was involved in the search, and no one remained indifferent to the young girl's fate. Every day began with planning and coordinating search operations. Volunteers broke into groups and headed to different areas, carefully examining every place where Madison could be. Madison's parents, not losing hope, stayed in constant contact with the police and volunteers, overseeing the search efforts and doing everything possible for their daughter's quick return. In an attempt to speed up the search and draw as much attention as possible to Madison Bell's disappearance, law enforcement announced a $15,000 reward for any information that could help find her. This amount was offered in the hope that the financial incentive would prompt people with important information to contact the police and share their observations or suspicions. The reward announcement was posted on local law enforcement's official websites and spread through social media and local news outlets. Among the volunteers searching for Madison Bell were many of her classmates from the high school she attended. The preparations for the prom, usually filled with joy and excitement, turned into a state akin to mourning. Students and teachers could not hide their anxiety and sadness, knowing that their friend and student was missing. Within just a few days, the case gained national attention, being covered by all the news channels. Madison's relatives gave interviews, sharing their fears and hopes for her safe return. The governor of Ohio publicly expressed hope that Madison would be found alive and unharmed. Authorities mobilized all possible resources for the search, involving both professionals and volunteers. The search continued for almost a week, with each day bringing new hopes and disappointments. Tension peaked on Friday, May 22nd, when the Highland County Sheriff made an unexpected announcement. He reported that Madison Bell had been found alive and unharmed. According to the sheriff, the girl had not been abducted. She had left home voluntarily and did not want her current location disclosed. This announcement caused a storm of emotions among those who participated in the search. Shortly afterward, her relatives made a public statement. They expressed deep gratitude to the police, FBI, and the hundreds of volunteers who actively participated in the search for Madison. The family emphasized that the support and efforts of all involved were invaluable during this difficult time. They also asked journalists to respect their privacy and give the family time to recover from the stress they had experienced. This turn of events was unexpected for everyone. Many people began asking legitimate questions about what had actually happened. The lack of specific information from the police and family only fueled confusion and speculation. For a week, about 300 people scoured forests, ditches, and streets searching for Madison, and her disappearance was widely covered in the news across the country. People demanded answers. A few days later, the sheriff decided to reveal some details. He reported that Madison had been found in the company of the very man who had been captured on cameras near the church. This man became a key figure in the investigation, and his presence with Madison clarified her disappearance. Further details, however, remained unclear. They were tracked down in Texas thanks to the license plates on his car. Since Madison was 18 and had left with him voluntarily, the police had to terminate the investigation. For the residents of Greenfield, this was a real shock. Many could not believe that their efforts were in vain and that the situation had unfolded this way. However, no one could have predicted that this was far from the end of the story. After several weeks of silence, Madison suddenly went live on her Instagram. In a series of subsequent broadcasts, she detailed the events surrounding her disappearance. First and foremost, she revealed the identity of the man who had been seen on surveillance cameras on the day she disappeared. He was 29-year-old Zach Salman from Texas. Madison had met him in an online game when she was just 15. In her broadcasts, Madison explained that over the years, they maintained contact through the internet, exchanging messages and spending time together in the virtual world of games. Over time, their friendship evolved into something more, and they began planning to meet in real life. Zach became not only a friend but also a support during difficult times. Madison felt that she had finally found someone who understood her better than anyone else. When Madison turned 18, she decided to share some troubling facts about her family with Zach. She revealed that her boyfriend Cody had moved in with them when he was 14, and she was only 13. According to her, she never wanted to be in a relationship with Cody, but her parents insisted on it despite her protests. Madison did not specify where Cody came from, where his parents were, or why her family decided to take him in. These details remained a mystery, and no information was available to shed light on the situation. Her story sounded incredible and strange, raising many questions. These revelations cast Madison's parents in an extremely negative light. They appeared to be manipulating their daughter, forcing her into an unwanted relationship. Madison also mentioned that she had repeatedly warned her mother that as soon as she reached adulthood, she would break up with Cody. This warning sounded like a cry for help that seemed to go unheard. Additionally, Madison mentioned that her mother often resorted to physical punishment, which only intensified her desire to escape and start a new life. She even shared photos of bruises on her body with Zach to confirm her words. These photos were not only evidence of her suffering, but also a symbol of her determination to break free from the chains that bound her. These revelations deeply shocked Zach. He realized that Madison had gone through a great deal of trials and pain. Seeing Madison's situation, Zach decided to support her and promised to help her get out of it. Together, they began to develop a detailed escape plan. They carefully chose the time and place to meet, settling on the church parking lot. This location was not chosen by chance. Most of the parking lot was out of the view of street cameras, giving them a better chance to remain unnoticed and not be quickly discovered. On May 17th, Zach arrived at the parking lot at the appointed time. A few minutes later, Madison joined him. They talked and prepared for the escape for about 5 minutes. Madison left her phone and keys in the car, taking only essential documents with her. They hoped this would hinder the search and give them a head start. After a brief conversation, they got into Zach's car and headed to Texas, to his home. On the way, they discussed their next steps and made plans for the future. Madison was confident that no one knew about her intentions and that they would be able to hide. Madison claimed that she did not know about the massive search until the police knocked on their door. She said she did not suspect that her disappearance would cause such a storm of emotions in a large-scale search. The case received widespread coverage in the national news, making it hard to believe that she could remain completely unaware. However, this is not the strangest part of the story, but let's take it step by step. In her broadcasts, Madison said she had not contacted her mother and did not intend to. She simply stated that she loved Zach and was happy with him. Among all her stories, there was one moment that raised especially many questions from the public. When Madison's mother reported her daughter's disappearance to the police, she claimed that Madison would never run away and that she had not left any note. However, Madison herself claimed otherwise, stating that there was indeed a note. It is hard to know whom to believe, but here's what's really strange. Investigators discovered that her mother called the police just 15 minutes after Madison left the house. Firstly, this contradicts her earlier statements. Secondly, in such a short time, Madison clearly would not have had time to go to the tanning salon. The only logical explanation is that her mother did find the note but deliberately concealed it from the police. After all, they would not have searched for an adult who voluntarily left home, leaving a note. Instead, her mother raised the alarm and mobilized the entire town, including hundreds of volunteers. If you think this is the end of the story, there's another unexpected twist. Investigators continued to dig deeper and discovered new facts that further complicated the situation. On June 20th, 2020, Zach posted on his Facebook, revealing new details about their story. The first part of the post was about how they met in an online game and how they decided on Madison's escape. Zach detailed their virtual acquaintance, which grew into something more. Zach described how he brought Madison to his home in Texas, where he lived with his mother. According to him, when they had just settled in, the police unexpectedly knocked on their door. They spoke with Madison, made sure she was safe, and left without taking any action. In the following weeks, Zach and Madison learned that many people on the internet supported them and were even willing to help financially. At the time of the escape, Madison had only $50, and Zach, who was 29, did not have a steady job. Madison created new social media accounts and started receiving donations from sympathetic people. However, she did not have her own bank account, so all the money went to Zach's account. He mentioned that they managed to raise over $3,000, which they used to buy clothes, food, and other daily expenses. At some point, Madison decided to contact her mother and called her. However, the conversation was brief. Madison hung up because she felt her mother was crying too insincerely. This call left her with even more doubts and disappointments. A few days after her first call, Madison decided to contact her mother again. Around the same time, Zach's mother, tired of supporting her adult son and his girlfriend, asked them to move out. Realizing they had no place to stay, Madison spoke with her parents and learned that they were on vacation in Florida. Deciding that a meeting with her parents might help resolve the situation, Madison and Zach bought plane tickets to Florida. All these events made Madison very nervous, something Zach noted in his account. He emphasized that she was under a great deal of stress because of the upcoming meeting and the changes in their lives. Upon arriving in Florida, the couple checked into a small motel to rest before the important meeting. Madison decided to meet with her parents alone, hoping it would help her understand the situation better and possibly find a way out of the predicament she and Zach were in. This step was not easy for Madison. She knew that much depended on this meeting and hoped that talking with her parents would help her find peace and confidence in her future actions. Zach stayed at the motel, giving Madison the opportunity to deal with family matters on her own. Madison was nervous as she approached the cafe where she had agreed to meet her parents. They were sitting at a table by the window, and although their expressions were friendly, she felt the tension. Taking a deep breath, she walked over and sat down with them. Madison's mother was the first to speak, expressing concern for her safety. She explained how worried they had been after her disappearance. Her father sat silently, listening carefully to every word his daughter said. Madison talked about everything that had happened since she left, her feelings and fears, and how she had tried to find a way out of the situation. On the way back to the motel, Madison had a panic attack and had to be taken to the hospital. Late at night, still in the hospital, she called Zach and begged him to come get her. Without hesitation, Zach arrived and took Madison back to the motel. The next day, they decided to spend time on the beach, hoping it would help Madison relax and recover. Zach noticed that she began to feel better, and it seemed to him that life was starting to improve. However, Madison decided to meet her mother again, despite the previous meeting ending in a panic attack. When her parents arrived at the motel, Zach was surprised to see Cody driving. This was strange because Madison had repeatedly said that she didn't want to see her ex-boyfriend again. Zach began to suspect that feelings between them might be rekindling. His suspicions were confirmed a few days later. Just days before his birthday, Madison unexpectedly broke up with Zach. The story of their relationship had been filled with dramatic events and emotional ups and downs, but now it was over. He did not go into details, preferring to keep his personal life private, but one thing was clear: their romance had ended. Zach returned home to Texas, trying to leave all memories of Madison behind and start a new chapter in his life. Zach tried to understand what had gone wrong but decided not to dwell on the past. In Texas, he found comfort in the company of family and friends who supported him during this difficult period. He began to rebuild his life, focusing on his interests and work. Currently, there is no accurate information about Madison's life, leaving many questions unanswered. What is Madison doing now? And does she live with her parents and Cody? This case still raises many questions and requires further analysis. The situation looks very confusing and strange. However, one thing is certain: Madison grew up in a very unhealthy environment. Perhaps law enforcement could have intervened and placed her in protective services if all the facts had been known and a proper investigation conducted. But this did not happen, leading to the subsequent events. The police, the FBI, and about 300 volunteers searched tirelessly for Madison for nearly a week while she was hiding in Texas. The main question is, can she be blamed for this? If her stories of abuse by her mother and coercion into a relationship with Cody are true, she indeed had reasons to run away. On the other hand, she was already 18 years old and could have avoided all this drama simply by calling the police and explaining her situation. Instead, she chose to hide, causing significant concern and mobilizing enormous resources for her search. What happened after her escape resembles the plot of a TV series. The question of whether Madison can now live peacefully in the town she unintentionally subjected to stress remains open. It may be difficult for her to return to normal life after her story receives such widespread publicity. How do you feel about this situation? Is Madison to blame for her actions, or should the police seriously investigate her family? Share your thoughts in the comments. This is truly an interesting and complex topic for discussion. Madison faced psychological and physical pressure from her mother since childhood. The complicated and tense relationship with Cody only worsened her situation. Living in such an environment could have severely impacted her mental state and prompted her to take such a radical step as running away. Today, as time has passed, Madison's fate remains unknown. Perhaps she is still searching for her place in life, trying to cope with past traumas. This story reminds us of the importance of timely intervention and support, especially when it comes to the well-being of children and teenagers. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe to the channel. See you next time.